KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has slammed the disbanding of the task team investigating political killings in the province. Mkhwanazi suggests that the unit was dissolved under dubious circumstances with instructions from the police minister. Mkhwanazi says that through the work of the task team, a total of 436 suspects were arrested and charged. He adds that dozens of firearms recovered were linked to political killings. He gave an update on a number of issues earlier in Durban. We now speak to lawyer Ian Allis. Ian, good to speak to you. Clearly, a lot has happened this afternoon, much of which has surprised you. What would you say caught you off guard?
Good afternoon, Hugo, and good afternoon to the viewers. I would say just the brutal honesty that's coming forward out of the Lieutenant General's mouth and the sentiments that have in actual fact been echoed that have actually uncovered a lot of suspicions that have already been made public, that there's been a lot of political intervention within the police ranks and pretty much leading credence to the so-called conspiracy theories. That is what is probably the most shocking aspect. But overall, just the sheer brutal honesty of what has been taking place within the police ranks and at such a high level as the ministerial level, it's quite shocking.
I'll take it that the gloves are off, and that's because he was wearing these fatigues. I mean, that special task team uniform. What does it signify in practical or symbolic terms? Is this a deliberate move to signal elite alignment or send a message about his authority over the issue?
Let me put it to you this way. It's his way of going ahead and showing he's going to do what's best for business and what's best for law and justice in this country. And sometimes law and justice don't always equate, but he's going to do what needs to go ahead and be done. And the fact that he was in official garb, shows he's not taking any prisoners, and he's going to get to the bottom of it. He's on a mission, and he's going to do what needs to, in actual fact, be done, which is both a good thing and a bad thing because, well, let me put it to you this way, don't see a lot of procedures being kept in regards to that, and just the results are all that's going to count.
You talk about procedure. Now, how unprecedented is it for a provincial commissioner to publicly implicate a minister?
Let me put it to you this way, not in this day and age, and especially this one thing that we found in this country in specific with our quiet diplomacy within the ranks, that it's always there to protect the higher authority and protecting the hierarchy. And what the Lieutenant General has shown, there's no fault, there's no allegiances, there's no alliance. If you're wrong and you're behind any organized crime and you're associating with organized crime cartels, you're in the firing line. And I think that's an important thing to go ahead and take a look at. It's the first time, it's an unprecedented aspect where we've actually seen a provincial head take on the minister in such a vigorous manner.
Okay, so some of what's come out in this address is that the Deputy National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Sabia, removed 121 case dockets without knowledge or approval of the national or provincial commissioner, and he's been fingered. In fact, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has been fingered in that process.
The danger comes is that it's the same names that keep on appearing. And the fact is that those were high priority matters. Of those 121, we're dealing with a very specific type of unit. We're not just dealing with your average, with say, for example, low-end Scholar Patrol investigation unit. We're talking about political killings where there's been rife, what's been linked in organised crime that goes into it, and who's actually benefited and who's received appointments and who's behind it. So we're dealing with one of the highest type of investigative units that we can in the country. And the one thing that it actually shows is that there's a new spine that's kind of growing to this, where you've got police officers, and that needs to be respected, like the Lieutenant General, who's saying, whoever you are, you're not outside of the range of our firing line, and we will go after you. And especially the fact that it's at a level where it's Sabia and Machunu who are actually being named in it. That's pretty frightening, because you're not going to get much higher than that. And if they say we will bring down these top dogs if need be, that's something that needs to be comprehended. That's as true. This is truth reflecting fiction, if one looks at it. And the fact is, as well, what it seems to be dealing with is an attempt to eradicate a poor culture of questionable policing and questionable motives behind the policing that's been taking place in this country for many, many years already.
Ian, let's talk about how this is all likely to play out. I mean, it's early days yet. It's probably a little bit over an hour since these startling revelations were made. There's obviously a lot of scrambling that must be going on.
Unfortunately, at that type of level where we're going, there won't be too much sweating right now, but what there will be is a lot of cursing, a lot of screaming, a lot of shouting, and a lot of basically everybody pulling rank on one another to try and block the doors off. What the biggest fear is what's going to happen to the evidence in respect to those matters that are now being investigated, and that's where the concern comes, because those dockets have been taken. They've been taken somewhere. So realistically, if there's any fingers pointing with regards to a lot of those investigations that are undergoing, what is going to happen to the material source, the potential witnesses, docket contents, docket reports, what is going to be what is actually taking place, and before they start answering to the allegations, what is going to happen to those files. And that's where the biggest concern is going to actually come from a criminal and from a justice perspective, is what's going to take place with the evidence. And our sense that a lot of that evidence, especially where it figures, is going to go ahead and be destroyed.
Okay, so Mkhwanazi's made these startling allegations. What does he do next? I mean, what is his ultimate game plan? What was the objective of all of this?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I hope it wasn't just to sound a warning shot to give them notice, and that was actually made with a determination that there is already something going on in the background, and that this is basically going to be more of a distraction. This is what one hopes from a strategic point of view, that it's kind of putting them on notice, but they're putting them on notice because they actually are going to be proceeding within the special investigation unit. They're going to be putting together a proper criminal intelligence investigation unit, even if it is more of a rogue unit. But and hopefully, before they've shown their hand, they've already put everything that's necessary in place to do it. And Mkhwanazi is just going ahead and going in there as the spokesman, more than basically the creator of something that's yet to be formed. If one can see that they've already got something underway, and now it's just basically trying to get these guys out. It's throwing the necessary grenade to smoke them out.
When do we expect the NPA, if at all, to get involved? President Cyril Ramaphosa, we understand, is in Brazil at the BRICS summit. What's his take likely to be, and how is he going to react to this?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Like everything where we end up seeing it kind of unfortunately gets swept a bit under the carpet in South Africa at the moment, especially at certain levels like that. One needs to go ahead and understand that the NPA, although they are supposedly an independent party, they still are involved from a huge perspective and to get their directions from the government, from the government and from the presidency. So pretty much whatever the president is going to be indicating is going to be felt very soon within the NPA structures, if anything at all is going to be said. And they're going to say, you know what, until it's before us, we can't go ahead and do anything. The fact is that if one looks at everything, the State Capture Commission, all the names that were brought forward, all the potential charges, nothing has really materialized in reality. And unfortunately, I just hope that this isn't going to be yet another one of those aspects where political involvement is going to outshadow what the necessary police involvement and prosecutorial involvement should be.
All right, let's look at specifics, Ian. Now, what do WhatsApp communications between senior figures like Mkhwanazi and Mkhwanazi reveal about internal coordination or conflict at senior SAPS levels? Could leaks from these texts deepen public mistrust?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The fact is, when you've got leaks like that, you've got to be very careful from the aspect of where does the criminal enterprise end and where does the political savior begin? Because there's too much of an overlap and there's too much involvement where there's questions at a government level as to their involvement. This should not be things where where our minister is actually involved in, and this should not go ahead and be determined through third parties leaking discussions that they've had. This shouldn't even involve people at that level, especially when they're deemed as independent contractors, because that then goes to the entire confines of their appointment to begin with. So these are devastating. This is shocking stuff to actually go ahead and hear in regards to any misdirection and any apprehension about there being a lack of corruption, and the government trying to sing they're cleaning their act up, because this type of thing flies directly in their faces.
And finally, Ian, before we let you go, what should we watch going forward? Possible resignations, STF deployments, or criminal referrals? Your thoughts?
Let me put it to you this way. I wish I was as optimistic as you are, Hugo. I'm just worried how many more organised hits we're going to be going ahead and seeing, knowing the way this thing is in actual fact going. So, unfortunately, as much as we'd like to see, we're going to see some prosecutions. We're going to see government getting cleaned out. We're going to see a whole positive resurrection of our justice system. My worry is we're just going to be seeing more high-profile assassinations, more high-profile hits, criminal enterprises going ahead and culling into one another's territories. So it's going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons. I'm hoping that they'll follow what you're going to go ahead and be saying, and there's going to be a search to power of all that's good. I unfortunately am not sharing your optimism, and just see that there's going to be people who are white knuckling for power, and that's going to lead to a lot more bad things happening going forward.